everyone. Welcome to your Gravity Yoga Express class. Tonight we are going to be working on stretching our hips. So we have 4 different poses. We'll hold each pose for the 5 minutes, give you a really good class of deep stretching. So the first, props. Always have at least a couple blocks. Doesn't matter, you can have the thicker ones. I have the thinner ones as well, whatever works for you. Couple of blankets. I always have a pillow handy just in case. And for one of our poses we do tonight, I'm going to show you a way to do it with 2 straps. If you don't have 2 straps, you can just use, you can either do the pose without the straps, but if you wanted to try the straps, or if you needed them and you don't have 2, you can just use like a belt that you would put on your pants, or dish towels, or whatever you have. You don't have to have the fancy schmancy yoga strap. So the first pose that we're going to do, we're going to work on the medial rotation of our hips. And those of you who practice with me in person will be familiar with this pose. It is very similar to what is called the constructive rest pose in a yoga class, or it might be something that you do before or after lifting weights or running. So in the constructive rest pose, the knees will be touching. So we'll be laying on our back and the knees will come in towards another and touch to rest. Well, tonight we're going to do something very similar, but the knees won't touch. So we can really work on, you'll start to feel the stretch on the outside of the hips and work on getting into the muscles that are really, really deep within the hips. And, you know, a lot of these deeper muscles are dormant these days because we sit so much. We're not using them in the way we should be using them. And this will be a stretch to really help get into those muscles, especially going into that internal rotating, that medial rotation of our hips. We don't do that a whole lot. So we're really going to find some of those muscles there. So you don't need any props. You just want to come down, laying down on your back. And you're going to take your feet, you're gonna bring them out wider than your hips. Now, a lot of folks will come out as wide as the mat, and if the knees come in and they touch, you wanna go out even further. So go ahead and lay down, feet out wider, much wider than you think, and then let your knees drop in towards one another. If they're touching, you need to bring your feet out wider. And then you can play with, to find this stretch, you can either play with walking your feet away from you, or maybe you bring them in a little bit closer. Maybe you walk your feet out even wider. But your knees are just going to start to drop in towards one another. They're not going to touch. You just let your head drop back, relax here. If it's comfortable, you can just let your hands rest loosely in your lap, or maybe come out to the side and just allow the gravity, allow the weight to gently guide the knees towards one another. But again, we're not touching. So you'll start to feel a little bit of that stretch on the outside of the hips. And you may not feel it while you're here, but you'll feel it as you start to sit back up. So I have already started the time here. We're approaching our first minute. Again, as I mentioned, we are holding these for the 5 minutes. Please don't force your body to hold these 5 minutes if it's screaming at you and it's just not ready, especially if this is a new pose for you. I would encourage you to hold it for at least, at minimum, 2 minutes. And then if you are in the space of just building up the tolerance, again, if this pose is new for you, you can always stay here for the 2 minutes, and then maybe you come out of it just for a breath or so and you come right back into it just to train the body. Breathing here. Deep inhales to the nose, long, long exhales out the mouth. We're at our 2-minute mark. We've got 3 more minutes to go. Each exhale, you'll feel the body relax a little bit more. The muscles will loosen up allow the body to deepen into the stretch. We're not forcing anything here. This is a really good one to practice just giving in and letting gravity in the body take over and come into this pose in a more natural, organic manner. Got 2 more minutes. It's about the time the pose. You can kind of maybe make some adjustments. Maybe you have to slide your feet out wider or slide them further a little away from the body or in a little bit closer, just to find that intensity of 6 or 7 out of 10. You just kind of want to hover around there. So make adjustments to stay around that intensity. Pushing our final minute here. Remembering our breathe to relax breath. We inhale through the nose for a count of 4. And then we exhale, long sigh out the mouth for a count of 8. And as you come in this final minute, if you've been here this whole entire time, you might feel where the feet kind of rolling to the inner side of the feet. That is okay. The outer edges of the feet might be lifting off the ground. That's okay. You got 20 more seconds. Okay, with your next inhale, slowly start to lift the knees up towards the sky, heel toeing your feet in to the right hips width apart. And then you decide what feels best for you. Sometimes it feels good just to stretch the legs out, shake it out. Sometimes it feels good to maybe bend one knee in towards the chest and then the other, whatever feels good for the body. Do that and then meet me seated back up. Good. All right, so we worked on that medial rotation. Now we're going to start working on the lateral external rotation, and we're going to come into double pigeon. So if you know how you like to set this up, feel free to start setting it up now. And I'll kind of walk you through some different modifications while we are sitting in our pose. We're doing 5 minutes on each side, so we're definitely going to feel it tonight. As you're sitting in a cross-legged seated position, I want you to double check with your back that you are able to comfortably sit up with a straight spine. If you find it's a struggle to keep upright and you're finding there's a lot of rounding in the lower back, I want you to prop your hips up with either a blanket. If a block feels okay, you can sit on a block, or pillows, anything like that. Anything to help support the hips, so to help support your back as you keep your spine straight in this pose. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, tell you what, let's start with the left shin on the bottom. I'm telling you guys to set this up and didn't even suggest which side to start on. If you already started on the other side, that's fine. Just make sure you remember which side to switch. So left shin down, lining up with the edge of your mat. And then you're going to take the right foot and you're going to go as close as you can to setting this up. So I'm going to go ahead and start the time here since we're going to be here for a while. So if you know where you got to go ahead and go. But just remember, don't force yourself to come into this pose. This is a really, really intense, deep stretch. So you want to go as close as you can. So you're essentially just going to crawl your foot over and over and over. Even if you have it crossed over and you feel the knees start to drop down and away, that's great. But you want to work towards getting to where you can stack your shins one on top of the other. You'll form this triangle shape in between your legs. And every so often you want to check in and make sure that bottom leg, the bottom shin doesn't crawl in under, because it'll do that. Every so often just check in and slide that shin back out. Flex your feet to protect your knees. And you can pause right here. Maybe you sit upright, hands just gently rest in your lap. The knee can hover, but if you have any kind of extreme discomfort, any kind of sharp shooting pain, you want to back out of it. And maybe it's not comfortable for the knee to be guided by gravity to really come down towards the bottom ankle. You can always prop a blanket or pillow or even a block underneath this top knee. Now, even if this is too much for you, honestly, you can just come into a regular cross-legged position. I did this for probably almost a year before I could even start to work towards stacking my shins. That just really helps to open up your external rotators here again, these AB adductors. So the goal, not really a goal, but as you're here, before deepening the stretch, you want to make sure that this top knee comfortably squishes onto this bottom ankle. And if you are there and you feel that you need to go a little bit deeper to find that 7 out of 10 intensity, then you can find a little bit more length through the spine and start to hinge forward out over your shins, almost as if you're leading with your chest, taking your chest out and over the top shin. As you hinge forward, it does deepen the stretch. You have options here. You can use blocks for your hands, or maybe you're coming forward and you can rest your forearms on a block. You can also stack blocks for your forehead. Remember, we're not so worried about the shape of the pose, but we're just trying to go to where we can feel that stretching tension on the outside of our hips here. You'll feel it in the glutes as well. Coming up on 3 minutes already. I talked you through this one. The next round, we'll have a little bit more silence so that you can really drop in and practice your breath work as the muscles stretch out. And again, you do not have to be in any hurry. Even if you are right here with the knee up in front, that's great. I just did the pose of the week video and I covered this pose. So when that's posted, I can let you guys know and you can check it out and see all the other different versions of this shape or this pose that you can do. You want to make the pose work for your body. You don't want to make your body work for the pose. Meet your body where it's at. Deep breaths here. Got just over 1 more minute. Got 30 more seconds. Maybe you deepen a little bit more here. You're hinged down over, slowly lift the torso back upright. You want to slowly uncross your legs. Maybe extend them out straight in front of you just for a moment. You can shake it out. And then we'll switch sides here. So this time, if you're following along with me, we're laying the right shin down on the mat, parallel to the edge of the mat. And then you're going to take the left shin and get as close to stacking as you can. So again, even if you're here, each side is a little bit different. Even if you're here and you feel the knees start to drop gently open, you can either come into the cross-legged seated position or start working towards stacking one shin on top of the other, even if you're crossed over like so. Notice this is one of those asymmetrical poses. So one side's going to feel a little bit different than the other. And you may need to support the other side in a different manner than you did your first side. Again, even if the knee is hovering here, that's great. If you need to prop it with a blanket or a pillow or a block, if you need to support your knee here, feel free to do that. So make sure you have that triangle in between your legs and that both feet are flexed to protect the knee joint. Crossing 1 minute. Remembering to breathe. Long, deep inhales through the nose. Long, long sighs out the mouth. That exhale is so long, it feels like your body is depleted of air. The very bottom of the exhale. And as you practice this breath more and more, you'll feel the body respond in the sense of just completely relaxing. The muscles, the tension in the muscles will release. The only tension we should feel is that stretching tension, again, on the outside of the hips. You might even feel it a little on the inside of our legs as well. Approaching minute number 3. We got 2 more minutes. This might be the space where you can start to deepen. If you are upright in the knees, even if the knees get a little bit closer, you can start to gently hinge forward. You don't even have to go that far to feel that stretch deepen. Try not to push it past that 7 out of 10 intensity. You can close your eyes, revisit the breath. About 45 more seconds. If you're hinged forward, slowly lift the torso back upright. And then slowly start to unstack the shins, moving slow. Extending the legs out long in front of you. Shake it out a couple times. Maybe punch above and below the knee joint. Anything to help break up that tension from our stretch. Good. All right, we're going to move into happy baby pose next. If you have your straps nearby or whatever you're using as straps, go ahead and grab those now. Otherwise, you don't need any other props. I'm going to set up in a funky way here so that you guys can see my legs, kind of see the shape of what happy baby looks like. So, but I have to kind of turn around. So sorry, top of my head is going to be facing you. So to set up happy baby, you want to come down laying on your back, just kind of like what we did at the beginning of class. And then you're going to lift your feet up, and you're going to take your hands to the inside of your legs. And your knees, the legs are going to come out a little bit wider than your hips. Hold on to either your ankle, the calf, or if you can reach up and take hold of the opposite or the outside edges of your feet. Now, your ankle is going to be in line with your knees. You're going to hold on and just let the body sink, let the knees drop down as if they're trying to come to the outside of your shoulders. All right. The back, the head, the shoulders stay firmly planted on the ground. Start our time now. We're going to hold here for 5 minutes. And then if you want to use straps, what you'll do here is you'll take your strap or whatever you're using as a strap, wrap it around your feet. Take the tails to the inside of your feet, hold onto the strap, and allow the body to deepen into the ground. Again, the ankles are stacked over the knees. Your knees are gonna be out wider than your hips, kind of like we're doing a malasana squat on the ceiling. So the heels are slightly in, toes are slightly out. You're just holding on, and then gravity is gonna gently pull your knees down closer to the ground. What you're gonna do here is you're just gonna focus on that breath, relaxing the body, letting gravity do the work here. Shoulders stay firmly planted on the ground, back on the ground, and head on the ground. Again, you don't have to use the straps. You can always just use your hands if that's more comfortable for you, or holding onto the ankles or the calves. And you don't even have to go very deep. Maybe you're up where your legs are still somewhat straight. That's fine. Just flex your feet. And as you're here for these 5 minutes, you might find that you can go bend the knees and go deeper into the stretch. Try to find that stillness. I know it's really tempting to rock here. If you're practicing this at home on your own, I would encourage you to invite that rocking sensation in before you come into this holding the stretch for the 5 minutes. But we can do it after we're done holding as well. We're approaching minute number 3. We got 2 more minutes. Deep breathing. Keeping those feet flexed again, it'll help protect our knees. Coming into our final minute. Remember, as you're here, just scan the body, make sure you're not holding tension anywhere on purpose. Relax as much as you can. The only tension that we're really going to feel is that stretching tension. Probably feeling it. May even feel a little bit in the hamstrings here on the back side of the legs. Feel a little bit on the inner side of the thighs. Maybe a little bit on the outer side. Thirty more seconds. If you want to find some movement, you can start to rock back and forth here. Maybe you straighten one leg, straighten the other. Just find a little bit of movement, bringing some blood flow back into the body again. And then when you're ready, you can slowly bring your knees in together, squeezing them in. Maybe you flex your feet and point, flex and point. You can always punch the muscles out above and below the knee joint. And then when you're ready, you can come on back up and come into our final pose already. It is a version of our blaster pose. We're actually going to come into our twisted blaster. So the only props you might need are maybe a blanket for the back, for the knees to rest on if you want a little more cushion for the knees. And then just have your blocks handy in case you want to use them for this pose as well. You're going to start off in a tabletop position. If you're using a blanket for your knees, place your knees on the blanket. Hands are underneath your shoulders, shoulder width apart. Spread your fingers. You're going to lunge the right foot forward to the outside of your right pinky. And see if you can get your foot out as wide as the mat or as close to the edge of the mat as you can. Then you're going to heel toe the foot forward, forward, forward until the ankle is either right under the knee or in front of your knee. So we're going to allow the hips. So right now we're lifted up, but we want to allow the hips to drop forward and drop down towards the ground. We have the extension in the back leg and flexion in the front leg. Now we're doing twisted blaster here. So maybe start with a block or two underneath the right hand. And we're going to turn the torso away from the right knee. The left hand, you have a couple options here. Maybe it can just hang out behind you. If you want, you can take it to the lower back. Or maybe for some people, it feels good just to gently let it rest on your left hip. The gaze can be out and over the left shoulder, or if it's better, more comfortable for your neck, you can just let your head hang. If your hand, while it's on the block, I want you to make sure that you're not pressing into your hand or your right foot, pressing yourself up and out of the pose. You want to allow the hips to melt forward and down. The block is here just for the support. And of course, you have several different heights you can play with. If you do find that you need the higher height, you might find that it's more stable to stack a couple of blocks. Otherwise, if it's up on the highest height, might not feel very stable, and then it's very distracting for the nervous system that's already trying really hard to relax in these poses as it is already. And then check into with this right knee. If you find that the knee is trying to press out further to the right and the toes are still pointing straight, slightly angle your toes to the right with the knee. So the knee and the toes go together. They track in line with one another. Deep breaths here. Careful not to lock through the elbow of the straight arm. The soft, gentle bend. We're just accessing these hip muscles in a different manner. Crossing minute number 2. This is a really tricky pose here. You really have to focus on the breath. The body, this is a hard pose. So the body is going to do everything it can right now to try and get you out of this pose. If you feel yourself really, really fighting with the body on it, try to take those deep breaths first. If that does not help, then add more props. Get into those hip flexors. You're going to feel a stretch along the front side of the left thigh, and especially on the inner side, getting into the adductor muscles. Minute number 3, 2 more minutes. Right here with you guys. This is really hard for me too. Let's close your eyes, take those deep breaths. Deep breath. It's one of those poses, 5 minutes feels like an eternity. We're almost there. We're at minute number 4. We got 1 more minute. You can do it. You can do it. Thirty more seconds. Good. Slowly drop your hands to the center. Slowly heel toe your foot back, back, back. Knee meets the left knee. Maybe you bounce it out a couple times in child's pose. Maybe you need to come up and extend both legs out in front of you just for a moment, kind of punching out the tension, especially on the inside of the left leg there. Oh, that pose is so hard. All right. Unfortunately, and fortunately, we do have another side here. So come on back into your tabletop position, making any adjustments that you need. We'll come right into the other side. So hands underneath your shoulder, shoulder part, spread the fingers. And then you're going to lunge the left foot forward outside of the left pinky, heel toe the foot forward until the ankle is either right under or in front of your knee. Take the block, go ahead and set the block to the inside of the left foot. And then you're going to allow the hips to drop forward and down. And you're going to turn your torso away from your knee. I'm going to go ahead and start the clock here, but I'm going to switch sides here so my back is not facing you. Again, allowing the hips to drop forward and down. We're finding we got that our extension in the back leg here, flexion in the front leg. If you're following with me, flexion in the front knee or the left knee and extension in the right leg. Left hand coming to the block. Turn your torso away from your knee. And then the left or the right hand kind of just hangs out behind you. It's not really doing anything in this pose. Again, if it feels good, you can bring it to lower back, or maybe it feels good to rest your hand on your right hip here. Whatever will help you feel supported and relaxed as much as you possibly can into this pose. We've crossed our first minute. We've got 4 more minutes to go. Gaze can be over the right shoulder, or you can just let the head drop if that feels good for the neck. Crossing minute number 2. We got 3 more minutes. I know it's really hard, especially in this pose, to be still, but try your best. I feel it right now as well. I feel very fidgety just because this is really uncomfortable. This is one of the poses that's always really hard for me. So that's just the work I got to do with communicating with my body and training, still building that tolerance up. So try your best to be still as you can. We got minute number 3. You got 2 more minutes. Long, deep inhales through the nose. Long, long sighs out the mouth. Let the sigh flow gently. We don't want to that kind of exhale, because that just really engages and activates the fight or flight side of the nervous system. When you do the long exhale, it really brings everything down a lot calmer than it was. Got 45 more seconds. Again, if you find that you have to get out of it just for a second, come out of it, and then come right back into it, just to keep training the body, building up that tolerance to this really deep hip stretch. Got 20 more seconds. Good, slowly, hands to the inside of your foot, heel toe the foot, back, back, back. Again, you can bounce it out a few times in child's pose. If it feels good, you can extend the leg out long in front of you, shake it out, punch above and below the knee joint. Do whatever you need to do to break up that tension. That is it. If you don't feel it now, you're going to feel it tomorrow. All right. Thank you guys for stretching with me this evening, getting into our hip muscles, all the good stuff there. Next week, we are stretching our hamstrings. So same time, same place. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you again. Have a really good, hopefully very relaxing night.